Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 64, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Never had I slept upon such wonder as Yasaka's tits. They were soft yet firm once pressed enough, due to Yasaka's nature as a supernatural and our own magic. Not to mention how we could keep our bedding nice and cold so her tits didn't get sweaty or anything. She was the ultimate woman to snuggle with, due to how her body was made for sex and being soft in all the right ways. And while we dozed, as my seed resided deep within her womanhood, I felt her shift as she laid a hand across her lower stomach as we laid together with her facing me. Her voice, tinged with some exhaustion after our literal hours of lovemaking, was filled with some amusement as she teased. "So you wish to impregnate me, huh?" I was silent for a minute before I squeezed her waist as I was buried face first into her tits, and I pulled out of the marshmallow palace so I could say calmly, "Unless you decide to magically cleanse yourself internally at this point. You are going to become pregnant. My seed is taking root within you, Yasaka." There was a moment of silence before Yasaka's hand, that was gently petting through my hair on my head, stilled, and she took a deep breath before she asked quietly, "How do you know?" I looked up at her with my mystic eyes of death perception, and she flinched at the alien sight of conceptual death within my eyes, and I said quietly, "Just as I can see the lines of death with my eyes, which was how I killed the barrier Genbu had. I can see the life that is to form within you, Yasaka." She closed her eyes for a long moment, and I looked down with my eyes deactivated to see her squeeze her hands over her womb and rub it as though in thought of being pregnant again. "You. What is a lonely mother to do when a man so aggressively comes in, adopts their daughter, and then knocks her up?" She whispered to herself, and I couldn't help an embarrassed giggle at how honestly, perfectly true her words were. As her golden-slitted eyes snapped open onto me, I gently kissed her lips, making her eyes widen before softening, and I broke the kiss and immediately said, "Yasaka, I will take responsibility, the child will be ours, and I will stick around as much as I can to help raise them. Just know that I want a large family and will treat you with respect, I promise." I was here in the world of DxD and had the ability to go to different worlds at will. I was far beyond the point of having hang-ups about having a harem. And with a harem came fucking said harem. I was also mentally ready for the consequences of such actions. Plus, was it wrong to have a life goal of making an entire soccer team out of my children born within a couple of years of the other? Yasaka slowly just pulled my face into her bountiful breasts as she took a deep breath. And then exhaled before I heard her say slowly, "Kunu has mentioned wanting a sibling over the years. But you can't just run off, Jake. I will hunt you down if you do so." She finished calmly, and I knew the threat that was in her words. But I didn't take offense, I just silently wrapped my arms around her waist to embrace her deeper. I then wrapped my life force around her form as I used the bedroom arts of Senjutsu to transmit my affection towards her. And even share the actual love I had for Kunu was directed towards her. And she shivered at feeling my unfiltered emotions, and for a moment she was silent before she wordlessly used her own life force to connect to my own, and our love for Kunu met together, and I felt her acceptance towards myself being transmitted before her tails encircled my form, and I heard her speak quietly. "It is decided then. Sleep within my bosom as I embrace you as my man. Good night, Jake." Yasaka whispered. So I did so, I relaxed with the lovely fox woman in my arms, and as her soft sounds of breathing filled the hidden suburban home, I fell asleep without fear as I felt her tails gently running around my body, and the sounds of her heartbeat filled my ear with how quiet the house was. I was awoken, though later on, by the sound of a soft thudding noise, and I woke up with Yasaka having gotten pushed down, so I was holding her head to my chest with her fox ears tickling my chin. Blinking, I looked around the dimly lit room as weak twilight light seeped in through the blindfolded windows, and as the sounds of footfalls came closer, I felt Yasaka shift in my arms slightly. Then the door to the living room opened up, and I thanked all the gods that Yasaka had somehow slipped our clothes on in my sleep with her tails, probably as Kuna tiredly called out, "Mama, I am home." And then Kuna stopped. Saw me and her mother wrapped up around one another on the large couch, and her eyes glazed over before she blinked, rubbed her eyes to see if this was reality, and I even felt her pulse her mana and ki to check if it was an actual illusion before mentally accepted this was the truth of the matter. Then I shuddered as I saw her take a deep breath through her nose, and with no shame, she all but stared at her mother's now dull eyes and demanded in accusation. "Mama! You said you were going to test him, how does fucking him test anything?" Yasaka's mouth opened and then closed for a moment, unable to speak as she failed to formulate an answer, as we had fallen asleep for too long and had got caught red-handed. And so I decided to make this situation so much better as I spoke. "Hey, Kunu, guess what, darling?" She looked at me with a much brighter smile as she asked happily. "What is it, Daddy? Are you and Mama together now?" And I could feel Yasaka's tail stiffen into steel rods around my body as I spoke calmly. "Yes, I am taking responsibility, Kunu. Congratulations, you are now going to be a big sister. No matter how long I lived." I will never forget Kunu's expression as she looked like a confused puppy with how she tilted her head to the side with her ears twitching and her tails going still as her mind processed that information.